I want to kind of switch gears a bit here, and I want to access one of my alter egos, duck the love muscle. There are so many people that are in toxic, bad relationships just to say they're in a relationship. Life is stress. I want to be as minimally stressed as possible. Today's topic is going to be on stress. The first thing to understand about stress is stress in itself isn't a bad thing. Stress is useful. We need stress. You have something called eustress, which just means beneficial stress. An example of that is training. When you're training, you're putting your body under stress, but it's a beneficial stress because once you're able to recover from it, it's what makes you stronger. So there's nothing to be afraid about. It's just to understand. Also, to save your life. If you're being chased by a tiger, it's a stress response and your body says, I'm being chased by a tiger. I need quick access to fuel and I need to get away from this tiger. So we need stress. It's part of our life. The problem with stress now is the excessive and the prolonged amounts of stress. And that's really where a lot of things come from. With most issues, it's just too much of it too often. Example with the training can be a positive stress. But when you are constantly training and you are doing this intense training that your body can't recover from, that's what overtraining is. I'm sure you've heard the term before. So very simply, whenever you're talking about overtraining, it's simply you doing something that your body can't recover from. Honestly, there's some people that don't train at all and their body's still overtraining because their body just can't adapt and recover from what they do their day-to-day life. And there's a lot of people that will use the gym to kind of relieve stress, but then they're doing too much, and this thing that's supposed to be beneficial can become deleterious, and we don't want that. And the same thing with the tiger example. You know, we're not being chased by tigers every day, but we are constantly putting our bodies through stress. If you're thinking of like your mortgage, your life, your bills, the things you go through day to day, our bodies are still very, very prehistoric, where when you're putting yourself in certain stressful situations, our bodies really don't know the difference. It just sees stress. So the same way it would react if you were being chased by a tiger, it reacts when you get a bad grade. It reacts when you see that, bill coming in. It's releasing a lot of blood sugars into the body, and excessively, that's where a lot of those problems come from. Now, there's a lot of deleterious signs of stress, more than we can cover in this, but I do want to just kind of go over a few. When people are moody, when they're tired, when they're snacking, cravings. Usually when people have this craving for salty or sugary snacks, a lot of that can come through stress. When you notice you're very irritable, when you notice your digestive issues are kind of acting up, sleep issues. When you're thinking of high blood pressure, when you're thinking of high blood sugars. One of my own personal theories is I am very curious within the next few years, because of how our society is and how we are pretty much stressing our bodies all the time, which we'll get into. How does that affect type of diabetes that can develop? Simply put, when you're thinking of diabetes, one of the things you want to be mindful of is the amount of time you're spiking your blood sugar, because then it has a reaction with your insulin. If every time we're stressed, your body wants to release that blood sugar, because again, it's thinking you're being chased by a tiger. If we're constantly doing this, how much of us have high blood sugar, not just from what we're eating, but just because of our lifestyle and the amount of stress we're putting under? So I think there's so many different ways stress can be toxic to the body. And I think it's something we really need to pay attention and really focus on. So some of the ways we would stress ourselves is thinking of your relationships. Now, I want to kind of switch gears a bit here, and I want to access one of my alter egos, duck the love muscle. In my experience, there are so many people that are in toxic, bad relationships just to say they're in a relationship. Me, personally, my whole theory to life is stress. I want to be as minimally stressed as possible. I love my peace. And for years, I would have rather stayed single and happy versus being with someone that made me miserable. And I'm very glad I met someone that makes me very happy. But I've seen, you'll see those people that are in bad relationships and they just want to stay in it for whatever reason. They'll post all the time on social media, knowing they're not in love with this person that they're with, or they're not in a healthy relationship. I think for me that a lot of that comes through just certain cultural things, but even more so, lack of self-love. And I think that's a very big component when it comes to a lot of relationship issues, is that lack of self-love, lack of, I can be good on my own. I don't need anyone else to make me happy. And again, that's a deeper conversation that we can have another time. But I think that's an important aspect to understand, that you being in this relationship because you want a title or you don't want to be alone, but you're still putting yourself under so much stress, and to live with that stress can just be, again, harmful to you in the long run, where you would better be off just being by yourself, focusing on how I can better me, rather education, just finding different things, figuring out who you are on the inside, versus, I just need a distraction. I think I need to be loved by somebody else. Another way we stress ourselves is just thinking of how we eat. Now, your gut is pretty much called your second brain, because it deals with how your brain functions. It deals with how a lot of your other hormones function, how a lot of your organs functions, your mood, so on, so on, so on. So your body likes to be in homeostasis. When you're hot, what do? You sweat. When you're cold, what do? You shiver. That's your body always trying to find that even keel. When we're eating certain things that's constantly spiking our blood sugar, constantly spiking our insulin, our body doesn't like that. And I don't care what you've seen online or all these other crazy places, the best thing you can do for your gut is to stabilize your blood sugars or lower your inflammation. It doesn't matter what probiotic you think you're going to take, or whatever, humic remedy that's going to heal your gut. If you are constantly spiking your blood sugar with your food, constantly spiking your inflammation, your gut is going to be affected. And your gut, again, you're dealing with so many things, from your hormones to your immune system and so on. And then you can kind of see how you put yourself on this cycle. If stressing your body is going to spike your blood sugars, and then the types of foods you eat is going to spike your blood sugars, you're just constantly putting your body under stress. And when do you get that time to recover? Which leads us to the other thing people do: lack of sleep. I've said this before in one of the previous podcasts. To me, I think it's more important that you sleep than almost any other type of activity. Like, if I had to choose between working out or getting my rest, get your rest. If it was, I need a fat burner or rest, get your rest. Creatine or sleep, get your sleep. When you're thinking of when your body does most of your recovery, forget anything about working out, but just you recovering from whatever stress you did during your day, that happens during your sleep. When you think of where it's doing most of your fat burning, during sleep, most of your muscle building during your sleep. So by not getting in this sleep, you are literally, one, shortening your lifespan, and you're limiting your own results, whether you're in the gym or your quality of life, rather you never plan to step in the gym. So I think it's very important to focus on sleep. And, there's different ways you can kind of enhance your sleep pattern. But I think one of the best things is actually just having a cutoff time. Like, a conversation I have with a lot of my lifestyle clients is just saying, we need a time that you cut off and you're not looking at any screens, because we need you to get sleep, not a nap, not laying down. We need you to go through that deep sleep where all of that recovery happens. We talked about it before. Overtraining is another way, where people, again, depending on your mindset going into your health journey, you're thinking, I want to lose weight. That means I've been told that I have to be in the gym like 5 days a week. There's nothing wrong with you being active 5 days a week, but if you think you're going to just beat your body, and something we talked about before, one of the worst things that happen is you seeing a little bit of progress during that initial phase. But then once you just keep beating your body, you notice you're not recovering, you notice you're sluggish, you're going to just hurt yourself. Unfortunately, I've had clients that really messed up their hormones because they just thought, I have to do extreme training. I got to do 2 hours of an activity. I got to spin every day for an hour. I got to be in the gym for a day, training an hour. I have had a client once that wanted to train with me And then once she was done training with me, they were tired and they wanted to do another session with someone else just because they thought, well, it's got to be more. I got to just keep pushing. Another thing we do is negative thoughts or overthinking. Again, another thing we do with my clients is it's hard for you to control that feeling. It's hard for you to control that thought, but the way you respond to it is something that you can control. That's why I don't allow the word can't. All of my clients will attest to this. They've seen it themselves. They'll go into it and they might feel that resistance or the weight. And then if they say they can, their body follows. But then because I know they can't do it and I say, no, I just want you to try. Just do it one more time, but just try. And they go in and actually try and they're able to do it. Your body is going to follow where your mind goes. So sometimes I believe if you're in a negative place, you have to speak positively against yourself. And it's very similar with overthinking. And this is something I even deal with sometimes where when I'm busy and there's a lot of things going on, sometimes I might just take everything on at once and it feels like an avalanche, like everything's just coming on top of me. And sometimes I just have to stop, breathe, reflect, and then just prioritize what I have to do, understanding, you know what, I might feel this way, but the reality is I can control certain things. It is not all coming at me all at once. So I think just speaking positively, because again, depending on where you are on your mental health journey, you're going to get these feelings. But if you can just try and counteract those feelings with positive actions, I think that's beneficial. And then just honest self-reflection, stop, catch yourself and go. Surgery is going to cause stress on your body. A loss of the family will cause stress on the body. Your environment. So there's certain things we can control, just global warming, things like that. The toxins in the air and the water, that's going to have an effect on how stressed our body is. But the other thing we can control is our environment. And that's even the people around you. Again, my philosophy of life is I just want peace. I want the minimum amount of stress. So I make sure that people in my life are positive. If you're not positive in my life, you're not going to be in my life very long. And sometimes that means growing apart from certain people because you don't know where they might be going, what direction they might be going. But if I want to be a positive person, one of the things I try to do is no matter who's around me, for whatever duration around me, I just want to be a positive impact. And I want that same thing in return. So don't come with negativity or we're just not going to work out. Or family. I still remember I had a lifestyle client once and her body was moving okay, but like for what she was doing and her eating was where it wanted to be, it just wasn't moving as I thought it could. And we just sat down and we talked as you want to do when you're dealing with clients. And she was telling me she was just going through a lot of stress in her family. And I recommended, hey, you know what? Maybe you should just have a sit down with the family, get a counselor, get someone and have a mediation. Over the next few weeks, thankfully she listened and they dealt with that family problem and her body moves so much better. Because again, stress is toxic. Stress is reacting to other hormones, reacting to other organs, and it can slow up your journey, rather it being losing weight or building muscle. And over the next 3 months after she dealt with that family situation, we lost like 50 pounds. Now I'm not saying everyone, if you deal with your issues, you're going to lose 50 pounds, but I'm just showing you that sometimes it's things that stress, you don't know how it's going to interact. You don't know how that's going to affect you, your body, your life's journey. So really trying to deal with that stress and wherever it comes from, I think is very, very important. And it's the same thing with kids. Having those family discussions, I think is very important, especially because there's still a lot of people that caught up in those traditional households where they think, well, the woman's supposed to do all of these different things. I think it should be a team effort. And if you're overburdened with trying to be the mom, the wife, the worker, because now it's not like it was 50, 75 years ago where maybe your role was just housewife. Now you got to be the housewife. Now you got to bring in the money. You have to do all of these other things. And this is a lot on you. Like being a mom by yourself is a lot. But now to be a mom and a full-time worker, like that's going to take its toll on you. So that's where you should, and I hope whoever your partner is, you have that type of relationship where you can have these sit down meetings and be like, you know what, this is how you can help me. This is where I'm feeling stressed. And you guys work together to build some form of program, some form of regime that we can all build this family together, because it's, depending on whatever you believe on who should be the head of the household, everyone should still be working together. Now, what can we do about stress? I think the easiest way is to just to deal with the stress. Whatever's stressing you, if you take it away, your life will be better. Unfortunately, life doesn't work that way. So many times we have to just do the best we can. And I think the transference of energy is beneficial. Having a friend that you can talk to. And I always recommend, if you're going to talk to someone, try and ask them, what place are they in? Are they in a good place where they can kind of handle this? And if they are, talk to them just to kind of release that energy. I think art is another beautiful way of transferring that energy, journaling or playing a sport. I miss playing basketball. And one of the things I miss most is it's very easy for me to transfer that energy into basketball. I don't need to think. I could just do, and you're exerting that energy. And I would always feel better after having a stressful day. Being able to play ball, going for walks is another way. Training's a good way too. Taking that frustration out on the weights, but you don't want to be in a place where, oh, I'm angry, I gotta go find a gym. Sometimes just going for a walk, going through the trails, going, seeing different sights, listening to something, whatever helps you meditate. There'll be ways that you can deal with stress that you can do every day. Another one is a reprieve. Sometimes you can't get away from the stress, but you can have some time just to be on your own, catch yourself, and not think about it. For me, it's going to a movie. If I'm going to a movie, I know for that 2 hours, I'm just focusing on what's in that movie. Is my problem still there? Yes. But at least I can get away for 2 hours before that problem has to come back. And if that's the best we can do, sometimes that's the best we can do. I am a big fan of breathing techniques as well. Now, there's many different breathing techniques that you guys could Google and look up. But I think breathing, and again, we talked about this previously, that honest self-reflection, just learning to center yourself, seeing what's in front of you, understanding where you are, and then just making sure you can feel what you feel. But sometimes you just got to put some logic behind it as well. What can I take on? What can I do? Where can I go forward from here? And I'm a big fan in just stopping. Just stop. Give yourself 5 seconds. Find time when you're in the shower just to stay in there for 5 minutes. We're not always going to have an hour meditation time. But you could steal time when you can. If you got to steal 30 seconds when you're in the bathroom, steal that 30 seconds when you're in the bathroom. But just try and center yourself, breathe, and just help the body calm down. And then the other one, which would be your nutrients. When you're thinking of things that help calm the body down, two important ones are potassium and calcium. When you're thinking of things that actually help with energy and actually help with how the body is stressed, is your B complex, especially your B1. So trying to get in those nutrients is going to be very important. Now, one of the problems when it comes to the nutrient portion, and again, if you know my definition of health, is being whole and balanced. If you can give your body what it needs, it's going to respond so much differently. But most people don't get in enough minerals and vitamins, especially their potassium, their B complexes. And then even the little bit your body makes, depending on the type of food you eat, if you're eating a lot of refined food, you're actually depleting the little bit that you have because it's trying to work to store and to handle those refined grains. So this, just the same way how you can see that cycle of putting yourself in a harmful health place, the more you can give your body what it needs, that's its way of trying to handle stress. That's its way of trying to handle what's going on. Because one of the benefits, one of the things when you're looking at a healthy body, one of the side effects is you're able to handle stress. It'll help with your digestion. So a lot of things that, being too stressed would create is the side effects of you being healthier. Your body can handle stress better. And again, just going with the eating, controlling those blood sugars, controlling that inflammation. If you look at a lot of different things, whether you're thinking of, your short-term goals, rather be in the gym, looking at just your quality of life day to day, your mood and stuff, or a lot of lifestyle illnesses that can happen down the line. I believe the more as a society we can control your blood sugars, control your inflammation, the better we will be. So in closing, I want to say that when it comes to handling stress, sometimes all we can do is the best we can. Control the things you can control. And I know that's really, really it's easy to say, tough to do, but that's all we can do is the best we can. Dealing with stress is hard, it's complex, and it can be very draining, but it's important. And I think going back to that self-love, I think we should all try and love ourselves enough that we make ourselves that priority to try and deal with it the best we can. Not even just for ourselves, but again, for the people around us. The better we are for ourselves, the better we can be for those people around us. Because I definitely and I genuinely think that you are all worth it. When you try and don't try and think of combining two negative things. You can't be stressed, then always eat your feelings, because in this world, two negatives don't make a positive. So it's always just about control the best you can, having that better understanding of health. You can't always control how you think or feel, but you can control how you respond to it. And focusing on that health, mind and body. We talked about it previously, but again, one of the side effects of a healthy body is how it handles stress. Is not going to take away completely, but at least you'll be in a better place. So thank you for joining. And until next time, be happy, be healthy.